Okay, we'll start with this. Vellinga posted this via her social media account. It reads, "This Saturday at Madison Square Garden, I'm back at it. You know, a rematch. Both fighters are always looking to make a statement." That's right. This will be a sequel, a rematch to Vellinga's
her November 11th fight, her November 11th loss, late last year, to amateur standout Christina Cruz.
Puerto Rican amateur standout Christina Cruz, who spent many years in the amateur ranks. She very recently went pro, and she will attempt to advance to a professional record of 3 wins, no losses, and no draws, whereas she will attempt to avenge that decision loss that took place late last year, this year, on the undercard of Vellinga versus Angulo.
For what it's worth, I don't think it's going to go any differently for Vellinga.
You know, I caught that fight between them late last year on the undercard of Lopez versus Cambosos Jr. That was a matchroom show, whereas this is a top-ranked card. This is a top-ranked show.
So it's at Madison Square Garden again, like that fight was.
That show, that card, that matchroom card that took place late last year, that was at Madison Square Garden's Hulu Theater, and so is this fight. So is this card, this top-ranked show. And like I said, I don't expect it to go any differently between them. That whole fight, Christina Cruz just seemed to cut above Vellinga.
Just a little better in every department.
All those years of amateur experience, all those years in the amateur ranks have paid dividends in the pro ranks. The thing is that Christina Cruz, she's no spring chicken. We're 6 months into the year of 2022, and this is her first fight. She needs to keep a busier schedule, and perhaps the reason she doesn't is because she doesn't have a major promoter behind her.
She's got a pretty damn good manager in Peter Khan, but no promoter.
No Goldenboy, no matchroom, no top rank, no nothing, and perhaps that's why Christina Cruz...
Why it's taken us so long to get a fight this year.
For a perspective, yet another amateur standout from elsewhere in the world, Sky Nicholson. A lot younger with a lot more upside than Christina. She debuted this year and she's already fought 4 times.
She's already got 2 more pro fights than Christina does. That's what a promoter can do for you.
That's the difference. I will say Christina Cruz, in spite of being up there in age, she's talented. You can see that. She has ability. But if she is to make a splash in the pro ranks, she really does need to hit the ground running. And I don't know if it's within her own abilities to do that. Not without a major promoter that has a deal with a major platform. Should we expect to see Christina Cruz box on top-ranked shows moving forward?
I really don't know. I haven't heard anything about her signing a top-ranked deal.
My knowledge, the only female fighter the Top Rank has under contract is Mikaela Mayer.
And nobody else.
So I don't get the sense that Christina Cruz, who will be in action this weekend on the undercard of Vellinga versus Angulo, a top-ranked show, I don't know that that necessarily makes her a top-ranked fighter. In any event, I do expect her to win.
I expect that the second fight won't go no different than the first one did.
I do expect Christina to outpoint Vellinga for the second time.
What she does after that, well, your guess is as good as mine.
Yet another fight of some significance happening upstairs at 122 pounds in the women's super bantamweight division. Mexico's own Zulina Muñoz in August will be taking on Zimbabwe's own Cruz Chiwandire
for what is WBC interim status at 122 pounds.
The winner of the fight, whoever it is, will be in a pole position to challenge this division's full-fledged WBC champion, Yamileth Mercado of Mexico. You could give Zulina Muñoz reasonable odds to win this fight in spite of Zulina coming off a knockout loss in her last fight.
You could give her reasonable odds because she's a lot more experienced than Chiwandire. Cruz
Chiwandire sports professional record of just 5 wins, 2 losses with 1 draw, whereas Zulina Muñoz is a veteran of 59 professional contests, 59 professional fights, sporting a professional record of 53 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws, 30 knockouts, having been stopped 2 times in her professional career. One of those times was her very last fight against Denmark's own Dina Thorslund. That fight was down there at bantamweight. That's 118 pounds, whereas this fight's at super bantamweight, 122 pounds. Zulina Muñoz is venturing north for this fight for WBC interim status so she can be in a pole position to challenge her countrywoman, Yami Mercado. other one. As stated, in spite of Zelina currently coming right off a knockout loss, you could give her reasonable odds to win this fight because she's got a lot more pro experience.
She's a more experienced fighter than Chiwandire.
Chiwandire, who's already suffered 2 professional losses to what are domestic-level opponents, not world-class, world-level opponents like Zelina Muñoz, who may very well be on the back 9, but she still competed at a much higher level than Chiwandire has. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to hear that so far from home in Zimbabwe in August,
Zelina Muñoz gets the job done. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
in men's lightweight news, another angle of a story we talked about a previous video. Ryan Garcia says he won't allow Goldenboy to prevent the war with Gervonta Davis. And why would they try to prevent it when Oscar De La Hoya says he's on board? He wants to do that fight with Gervonta before this year is out.
I think they're both being a little bit theatrical.
Goldenboy will not be able to prevent it, Garcia said. They can't. I won't allow it. There's no way. I will go to war to fight Tank. I'm ready to do whatever I've got to do, because at the end of the day, that fight is going to get me my respect, and I think I deserve that. So I'm up for the challenge. I'm very confident in beating him. He's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but I'm just that much greater, and I want to show him. I want to show everybody what I can do, and that's the fight to make. Everybody wants to see it, and I'm ready now. If you really want to show who ducked who, and you're really confident that I'm ducking, well then, we could record the entire negotiation process, if you want to throw that in. I'm down to throw that in. I have never ducked anybody.
That sounds like something a 12-year-old would say.
We can record it!
Feels infantile, adolescent. Nobody's gonna stand there holding the camera while you those teams go back and forth with each other, deciding on what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. It just came off as very childish of Ryan.
Along with some of the other stuff he said.
With a victory, Garcia believes either he or Davis would become boxing's next flag bearer. Over Canelo Alvarez? Over everybody, said Garcia. I swear, I promise you, that's just what it's gonna be. It's too monumental.
Hey, does Ryan Garcia still plan on retiring at age 26?
Listen, I think Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis commercially could do very good business. I'll even go as far as saying that it could very well sell 1 million pay-per-view buys because of both the followings that both the fighters bring to the table. It could do that well commercially, but I feel like the reason Ryan gets a lot of flack is because he's always trying to skip steps. He's worried about super fights. And
what are you worried about a super fight for? You haven't even fought for a world title yet.
Whilst your domestic rival and professional adversary, Devin Haney, travels abroad to the land down under, to Australia, to vie for undisputed champion status. While he's doing that, you're still trying to convince people we're on the eve of a Gervonta Davis fight.
They're still making promises, and they seem empty.
That's a big part of the reason the boxing community, certain sections of it, are as critical of Ryan as they are. Ryan, who says, I've had to deal with a lot of disrespect toward me as a fighter, and even though I've put in the work, been in boxing since I was 7 years old, been getting hit in the head since I was a little boy, traveling everywhere, going with my parents everywhere, sacrificing my childhood, everything I've had to do, I paid those dues. I just did that in a smart marketing way. That's just what it is. I'm smart. And honestly, now that I look at it, I think it's just because I'm handsome. Honestly, I think they are envious, and I think they just hate me. It's kind of cocky to say, but fuck it. It's true. I'm handsome, and they hate it.
Jesus Christ.
You know the bit about Ryan going traveling and sacrificing his childhood and fighting since he was a little boy? Yeah, that's pretty much Shakur Stevenson's childhood, Devin Haney's childhood. To some degree, it's Gervonta Davis's childhood. In reality, Ryan Garcia's not talking about anything that any other group of guys, any other group of fighters, male or female in the sport, ain't talking about.
The real reason Ryan gets so much disrespect is because he acts like a prima donna.
Same age group as Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and Teofimo Lopez. All young guys,
champions,
young generation that has seen themselves become world champions. Shakur Stevenson is a 2-division unified champion. Devin Haney is an undisputed champion. And before Devin, Teofimo Lopez was a unified Ring Magazine and lineal champion, whilst Ryan Garcia is still making empty promises about fights that aren't likely to happen. That's the real cause for concern, and that's where the criticism and disrespect comes from.
It's not about how much product you put in your hair, sweetheart.
How many TikTok videos you upload or however the hell that works. If Ryan Garcia were doing what he has to do as a fighter on a regular basis without the melodrama, without the theatrics.
You know, if he were fighting in fights like the Luke Campbell fight on a regular basis, I don't think people would be so bothered with him.
Newly crowned undisputed lightweight champion Devine Haney said this clown uses other fighters to sell his fight, then fights no one. Read between the lines.
You're about to fight Javier Fortuna, not Chiwandire Davis.
Being honest with you, I'm not even poo-pooing over the Javier Fortuna fight. I'm not. That's an interesting fight. Javier Fortuna is a seasoned veteran, a scrappy southpaw who comes to scrap, comes to fight, and I like that fight. But you'll notice that Ryan Garcia is drawing all this attention to himself in reference to a Chiwandire Davis fight that most people don't think is likely to happen this year. And he's doing this at a time when he's supposed to be fighting somebody else anyway. So why are you talking about that guy? It looks a lot like you're using that guy to sell your fight. You're dangling that fight with Chiwandire Davis like a carrot in front of the fans, hoping it'll draw attention to your fight with Javier.
Didn't you say you were going to stop calling people out?
It's not my imagination. He did say that upon his long-awaited ring return, ahead of the Emmanuel to go fight. Ryan Garcia himself did say that he's going to stop making baseless call-outs.
He said he's going to stop making baseless call-outs for fights that just aren't realistic.
Listen, there's no shortage of critics out there in the sport of boxing. There just aren't. And in many ways, you could do everything right, and there's still going to be a couple of guys, couple of gals that are criticizing you for whatever the hell it is you're doing. My main hang-up with Ryan Garcia is that he very much still is in the developmental stage of his professional boxing career, but
He
he
fights in world title eliminators just to walk away from world title fights.
says he's not going to name-drop fighters and make baseless call-outs only so that he can start name-dropping and making baseless call-outs.
If you're fighting Javier Fortuna, talk about Javier Fortuna, not Chiwandire Davis.
Just taking everybody for a ride with this stuff, and it starts to feel a lot how Devin Haney described it, that he's using a potential Chiwandire Davis fight to try and sell a Javier Fortuna fight when the Fortuna fight isn't even a bad fight.
It just gets annoying after a while.
It isn't necessary. And just in keeping with the theme of all things Goldenboy, Oscar De La Hoya very recently said he can't wait to sell Goldenboy Promotions. Perhaps an insight into what's going on.
Going through his mind these days.
You know, I say it all the time. Ever since Canelo Alvarez jumped ship, Goldenboy Promotions hasn't been the same. Oscar says, I'm sitting on $1 billion company, and I can't wait to get rid of it. And most importantly, I can't wait to be the very first fighter ever to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as a promoter as well. These are goals that I have. De La Hoya founded the company.
Wow, it's been 20 years.
He founded the company in 2002, naming the venture after the nickname he carried throughout his storied career, representing the United States, the Mexican-American who won a gold medal at the 1992 Olympics, earning himself
the Golden Boy moniker.
hence Golden Boy Promotions. And they were doing all right for a while they had Golden Goose, their Golden Goose, Canelo Alvarez. But we know that not that long ago, was it 2.5 years, Canelo Alvarez decided to go his own way, do his own thing, and I don't think the company has recovered.
De La Hoya, 49 years old, says he wants to continue to be involved with Golden Boy for as long as possible.
While he believes the company has plenty to offer for a potential investor, we're sitting on a gold mine, De La Hoya said. When I'm ready to get out, the time will come. But in the meantime, that's the reason I want to make these big fights happen. It's crucial. It's crucial for the sport. It's crucial for my company. It's crucial, most importantly, for the fan base. Is it crucial to keep the company afloat? Is what I'm wondering.
It sounds like it.
If it's business as usual, and business is booming, or at minimum, it's doing well, why would Oscar De La Hoya even entertain the possibility that he might sell the company to someone? Why would he be quoted as saying things like he can't wait to sell it, he can't wait to get out?
If he's doing well, I mean.
He's got 4, 5, 6 marketable fighters, maybe 6. I mean, you got Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, Jaime Munguia.
I don't know if Sinisi Estrada's still with Golden Boy Promotions.
She's a very marketable fighter. A fan-friendly fighter with a fan-friendly style, not just a pretty face. And he also has Zurdo Ramirez. These are fighters that, in time...
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's that Oscar just doesn't have time for it anymore.
Doesn't have the time to put into them that was put into Canelo Alvarez, the career that he went on to have, the career that he's still having, and the draw that he became. I mean, maybe everybody at Golden Boy Promotions, Eric Gomez, Robert Diaz,
all of them.
Maybe those guys just...
Things are really competitive right now.
I think it's stressful. I think it's stressful for the people over there at Golden Boy Promotions. You have a top-tier, top-shelf, blue chip prospect in Virgil Ortiz, a welterweight, but you don't have any belts for him to fight for, and belts won't become available to him for the foreseeable future. To top it all off, the PBC, not only do they have the run of the welterweight division, not only do they have the run of that place, they've got the run of the place upstairs.
They've got the run of the place at junior middleweight as well.
Promoting these particular fighters at these particular weights: Virgil Ortiz at welterweight, Jaime Munguia at middleweight.
They don't have any belts for him to fight for either.
Not very many high-profile fights they can make for him in-house. No world titles to fight for, none available.
Not very many, not any high-profile fights they can make in-house.
Think about Zerto Ramirez, one of their more recent signees in the light heavyweight division. He's in a pole position to challenge Dimitri Bivol for Dimitri's WBA title. The problem with that situation is Dimitri's promoter, Matchroom, well, they've got more juice than Goldenboy. So even if you can get him in position to fight for that title, it might not be your show. It might be Matchroom.
And if he has that fight and he loses, then what do you do?
I mean, I'm just speculating. I'm just bouncing ideas around, but I kind of get the sense that given the fighters that they promote, the ones they aspire to make into marquee attractions and marquee draws, like Ryan Garcia, who we just talked about, well, Golden Boy Promotions, they don't have very many high-profile in-house fights they can make for him. It looks a lot like what they're doing is promotion by way of name association, name-dropping Gervonta Davis ahead of what is to be Ryan's fight with Javier Fortuna. They're fighting Javier Fortuna, but they can't stop talking about Gervonta Davis.
And it's the same at lightweight as it is at the other weights.
They don't have any belts for Ryan Garcia to fight for, not unless they're willing to ship him out and let him fight on somebody else's platform. Right now at lightweight, Devin Haney's got all the belts. He's that division's undisputed champion, and for the time being, he's with Top Rank. He's fighting on the ESPN platform. I don't think for a second Goldenboy wants to send him over there. They don't have the bodies to spare.
I'm just saying, I look at this situation, I see these fighters, where they campaign.
It can't be easy to promote them.
Things are a lot more competitive now than they were before, and you don't have your ace in the hole, Canelo Alvarez.
A lot of these other outfits that are out there, they're bigger than Goldenboy. They have more resources, more champions like Matchroom and Top Rank, hell, even the PBC.
And it's hard for Goldenboy Promotions to compete.
Their best bet at this point is to send one of those guys out, at least one of them, let them fight for a title and hope that they can bring it back.
I mean, what, is Bivol versus Zerto? Is that going to be a Goldenboy Promotion show or a Matchroom show?
I think that's a legitimate question that addresses a legitimate problem for Goldenboy.